Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know where you are in the world, but welcome to another episode of JamTalks. I am super excited about today's interview because I will be interviewing the Jamaicans in Ireland Diaspora organization, and Ireland's actually on my bucket list. So I am really excited about interviewing these two amazing Jamaicans doing amazing work in Ireland. My name is Rachel Dostine, and I am the chair of the Jamaica Diaspora Worldwide Organization Task Force. For today's interview, we're just going to say JD Watt, because that's just way too much to say every single time we have to say it, right? So it will be JD Watt. With me today is Mr. Steve Roy Steer and Miss Ethelyn Thomas. Welcome, Steve Roy and Ethelyn. Ethelyn, how are you?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Y'all doing all right?
We are.
Very well, very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So before we start talking about the organization, we want to talk a little bit about the two of you. So if you can introduce yourselves, tell us where in Jamaica you're from, and then what brought you to Ireland, and what is your position in the organization? Well, I guess ladies first. I guess Ethelyn, you're up first.
Okay, right. I'm Ethelyn Thomas, originally from Jamaica, Spanish Town. Yeah, I live in Ireland too long now. Some 20 something years at this stage.
Wow.
Yeah. To be honest, what brought me to Ireland was it's the work and study program. And actually, when I came over here, I liked it because it was nice. I've lived and worked in England before. Never really liked it, to be honest. And I went back home because I'm a former teacher. And I lived in England. I was in Sidcup, a bit in Nottingham, a lot of family over there. But England was just not for me. To me, it was just too loud. So I went back home. And then after that, I visited Ireland, and I'm like, oh, it's a bit nice and quiet. I kind of like it, not too much bumping too. So, yeah. And then I came back and worked and found, who. And then it all began there. I really love it here, to be honest. It's really quiet. It's a nice place to, to grow your family and all. And yeah, I'm here 20 something years later.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And everything. Yeah.
So in the organization, what is your role?
So in the Irish diaspora, my role is the liaison personnel for international affairs. Okay. So I'm the person who make the connection to yourself and everyone outside of Ireland, and feedback to my chairman there, Mr. Steve Roy. So.
Oh, cool. So you're what they call the middleman.
There you go.
Middle woman.
Middle woman. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, cool. Steve Roy.
Okay, my name is Steve Roy Steer, and I'm from Ocheras, close to Ocheras, St. Anne, Jamaica. I've been in Ireland for the past, I would say, 19 years, perhaps the best part of my life, I would say. I basically came to Ireland after finishing school in Jamaica, secondary school. So basically I do all my college, everything here. What brought me here was that my two aunts were already in Ireland. They were on the work program. They came on the George program. They were, my aunt used to be in the West Indies College, Northern Caribbean University. So I came over, and my dream is always to become a lawyer. And by me coming over to Ireland, I was able to realize that dream. So I've been here since. I spent the best part of my time, or most of my time, studying, going to law school until I eventually qualified as a solicitor in 2017. And that has been keeping me busy. I practice in the area of immigration and international protection, asylum law, criminal defense, family, personal injuries litigation. I am also qualified in the UK as well. I currently set up my own office in Ireland here in the middle of the pandemic in January of this year. I have a lot of connections in the UK, a lot of family over there. Grandma is there, uncles, aunt, cousins, but I just love Ireland. I just fell in love with Ireland. It's a country where you can actually be yourself. It's a quiet country where you can raise a family. Yeah, I've been here since, and as I say, the Irish people is really nice, and there's so much connection between Jamaicans and Irish people. Irish people are very down to earth, just like Jamaicans, very laid back. I've been here since, and I've been doing well. In terms of family, I have a son who plays the Irish GAA and hurling and all of that. Every Saturday morning I have to be up early to bring him to matches and all. So, juggling a busy life, but for me, I'm the kind of what you'd call a people's person. I put everybody else first. So I don't really have time for myself, but I never complain. I just get on with it, get on with the job, the meetings, whatever, whether it be in the diaspora or meetings through the various law societies, I get on with it. And it's quite a very hectic and busy schedule. It's quite a very demanding job. But, one of the most important things is that I love what I do.
Right.
And I enjoyed it. And I would never give this up for anything else. In terms of my role in the organization, I'm the chairman of the diaspora, Jamaicans in Ireland diaspora, chairman and president. So basically, I'm at the forefront of getting this organization going in terms of having a vision as to where we want to go. It's a very young organization, but with all the hard work and commitment of our committee members, we will continue to progress forward.
Oh, wonderful. So we have two perfect people here today. We have the head man and the middle woman.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So, Sibra, you mentioned that the organization is a young organization. So when and why was this organization started?
Well, in terms of when, first of all, there has been previous organization diaspora, started out here in Ireland, but things didn't really progress well in terms of, it's fall apart because there have to be, you have to be very committed. There's a lot of hard work, in terms of keeping the organization going, even when you might not be getting the support of the wider community, you have to have a really strong committee that actually, basically keep things going. So it was 2017 that we actually established the organization when it was coming up to the Jamaican independence celebration, and we were kind of concerned about whether we would gather the numbers and getting everybody together for the independence. And this was just an independence celebration, which was going to be kept in one of the committee member house. And I just come up with the idea and said, well, perhaps if we can form a WhatsApp group and just try to gather everybody back together. And I remember at that meeting, I basically was going around with a list and I was taking down names and numbers. And I take down maybe around 30 to 40 names and numbers. Wow. And I can tell you, I actually personally reach out to everyone one by one. I literally pick up the phone to them and said, listen, this is what we are doing. You want to get the diaspora back up and running. And, and I used the line. I said, listen, I know there has been an organization before and it didn't work out, but this time we mean business. And I literally reach out to everyone and we basically formed the group. And since 2017, we have been really going really strong. And, one of the reasons for getting the diaspora back up and running is because as Jamaicans there, we need to have some form of representation on the ground. And for me, in terms of leading this organization going forward, it's from personal experience as well, because I remember back in 2003, I lost a family member here in tragic circumstances, and we didn't really have any representation on the ground here. We have to rely on getting assistance from the High Commission in London, which was very slow. So like from what my family experienced here, where there was nothing, no representation on the ground at the time, I kind of thinking, I'm saying, well, you know what, we need to have that connection. So for example, any Jamaicans here in Ireland have any issues, at least they know they can pick up the phone, they can reach out to myself or any committee member, or our honorary consular, and there is somebody on the ground who can make that connection, whether it be to the my commission, our non-resident ambassador in the UK or in Jamaica. And that was one of the main reasons why, we kind of get this organization up and running, because there have to be some form of representation. There have to be somebody on the ground. If any Jamaicans there is in any problems or have any issues, that there is somebody here to go to.
And I think that's so wonderful and comforting, because lots of times when Jamaicans or anyone from a particular country who moves elsewhere, the reasons that folks move are so varied. And so to know that there is actually some sort of support in a foreign country when you go to live, and I'm assuming if there's a Jamaican who's even traveling, who may get in any kind of issues, they can still contact your organization for with questions and support. I think that's so amazing and comforting to know for anyone who's considering moving to Ireland. Guess what? You won't be alone. There's actually a cohort of Jamaicans already there waiting for you.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really, because I remember coming here, and I was really small when I came to the US, but I don't remember there being anything like what you're talking about. And it was in New York, which is, New York is a very diverse city, but you're talking about, I was 5 when I came, almost 5. So you're talking about 30 something years ago that I came, but even in the school system, like for me, I had to take ESOL because apparently English wasn't the language I spoke. So they put me in ESOL so I can learn to speak proper English.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to take speech therapy because, I said con instead of corn. So,
Wow.
I dropped my H's and I put the H where they shouldn't be one. I was extremely bright, but there was no one to help my parents kind of advocate and navigate the system so that, I wasn't labeled or I wasn't put in places or situations I didn't belong, because Jamaica is an English speaking country, people. Like, what are you talking about? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's really great, even navigating the legal system or how to purchase items or grocery stores or the train and bus services. Like, I really think that it's amazing that this exists in Ireland so that folks can have just an easier time acclimating to a foreign country. Yeah. So that's really cool.
Yeah, but also I just want to add one thing. Also, the fact that I specialize in immigration law as well. So like that's actually a plus for Jamaicans as well. So any Jamaicans want to come into Ireland and they want to get information in relation to visas and residency and work permit, I do all of that. So contacting the diaspora, you're actually getting the information from myself as the president, but also as a solicitor who practice in the area and in the field, and have knowledge of the UK system as well, to be able to assist you in terms of European law as well. It's kind of like getting 2 for the price of 1.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely amazing. So do folks have to pay like a membership fee to be a part of this particular organization, or how exactly is the organization set up? How does it operate?
Well, I'll let Kathleen take that.
Okay.
Well, you can help me out as well. Okay, well, we don't pay a fee in particular. We are, at the moment, we have 50 people on board in our WhatsApp group. Is that right, Steph?
That's a nice number.
In and around.
Yeah.
And then we have a 12 membership committee.
Okay.
A subcommittee of part of. So, as Steph said, he's the president, and the rest of us, have with our different roles and responsibilities. So what we do as a committee, every month we pay 10 euros towards, as a little membership fee. But say the wider committee, no. Pay any fee? No, you don't pay anything. But when we do have activities, because we don't have anyone out there to support us like that. So when we do have activities, the committee members actually come together, with support of the few people on the outside who wants to, to contribute or support us in any way. But at the moment, no, we don't pay anything. And of course, we have a formal way of you registering, filling a form out, and being a part of. But your qualification, as long as you're Jamaican, by affiliation, by birth, or whatever, you're welcome.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's another great benefit.
Yeah.
As well
Yeah.
as that, if you're moving to Ireland and you may even be not having excess finances or whatever to even seek some of this assistance, you at least at minimum, I know the legal services, obviously, I'm sure there are fees to file for different things, but at
Yes.
least getting to be able to talk to someone to see what you should do and what the steps are, that's available to folks who move to Ireland. So that's cool. So
Yeah.
you see,
Yeah, we do make an effort to give people financial support
okay,
if the need arises. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we do that from time to time as well. You know, if members of the Jamaican diaspora, you know, somebody die or whatever it is,
okay,
we'll be there for them as much as we can,
okay.
financially and otherwise. Yeah.
That's really awesome. So I know the organization is pretty young, 2017. So we're talking about maybe about 4 years old. So still fairly young. But for the both of you, what would you say is the organization's greatest accomplishment to date? From where you sit, what would you say is the organization's greatest accomplishment to date?
Well, in terms of, well, first of all, I would say one of the greatest accomplishment would perhaps the fact that we are actually still here.
Yeah.
You know,
That's an accomplishment, let me tell
you
you.
know, that is an accomplishment in itself. You know,
Yes.
for the past 4 years, despite the situation with the pandemic, we are still here. But in terms of our plans and, you know, going forward, we did have a huge plan in the pipeline for March 2020, and that has been derailed by the pandemic, where we have a group of pediatricians going down a peers team to train the trainers to basically, you know, go to Jamaica for 2 weeks, and the pandemic kind of derailed that. So that was like a huge operation that we were putting in place, and it just happened that they were supposed to travel in and around the second week of March when the situation with COVID. So that had to be put on the back burner. And also we are in collaboration with Mustard Seed Ireland. And,
Okay.
you know, Mustard Seed Ireland, you know, they do a lot of work in Jamaica, and we attend their annual fundraiser every year, and, you know, we basically support them. So they were in collaboration with the peers training as well, and in
Okay.
terms of the organization and all and planning of the event. But that didn't actually go ahead because of the pandemic, and as I say, it's still on hold, and we're still in the situation with the pandemic. But that would perhaps be one of the biggest achievements if we did actually get the opportunity to pull it off.
Yeah.
You know, that was huge. But despite that, we are still going, and I think this year we actually host a virtual independence celebration, and I think, you know, pulling that off was really big. We have, you know, the High Commissioner from, you know, London joining in. We have our honorary council. We have, you know, performers from Jamaica, and it was brilliant. And, you know, as a committee member, we work around the clock because, you know, with all the technical difficulties and stuff, you know, using Zoom, and we're able to pull it off. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things we have achieved so far.
Yeah.
And then Ethan can expand further in terms of, you know, other plans in the pipeline in terms of Riverton City. That's something that we're actually looking at, and is subject to the situation with COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are basically in talks at the moment with Darren is a youth from Jamaica. He actually does go around and do community work outreach program in Riverton City. So he approached us and is basically asking for assistance in whatever way possible. So what we are planning now, he's actually off now doing his research, trying to get findings in whatever way we can to see if we can set up a homework club in Riverton City.
Okay.
At the same time to fund them and, you know, try to provide tablets, laptop, you know, set up an ideal area where children in the community can actually come over, get their homework done, and also get a warm meal, you know, as much as possible. So, but you know, with the inner city, you got to really take your time and kind of craft things out properly, because you don't want to start and then you can't finish. You don't want to get into it into the middle of it. So that's something that we're carefully, you know, planning and trying to put forward, because as you know, sustainability is the order of the day. So there's no point
Absolutely.
starting something you're not able to sustain it. So yeah, so we're working on that at the moment. By God's grace, hopefully everything can, will be up and running and at the same time be meaningful. Yeah.
Right. So that's wonderful. They say age is nothing but a number.
There you
So
go.
being 4 years old means nothing. It really sounds like this organization has done quite a bit already and has plans to do quite a bit more. So that's good. I'm a licensed nonprofit consultant. So sustainability is always one of those areas that nonprofits need help with. So I always get excited, or it warms my heart whenever I talk to organizations and they're talking about the future and they have plans for the future and they're moving strategically, slowly, intentionally, and not just kind of bulldozing ahead. So that's always a wonderful sign, a good sign, wonderful too, but definitely a good sign that organization will thrive and will be sustainable long into the future. So kudos for that. So wonderful accomplishments. What would you say is one challenge, if you had to identify one challenge that Jamaicans in Ireland diaspora is experiencing at the moment, what would you say that one challenge is?
I think one of our biggest challenge at the moment as a diaspora is actually to get Jamaicans involved, Jamaicans here on the ground. Absolutely. That's one of our biggest challenge. And I think that was one of the reasons why the previous organizations that set up failed, because they wasn't really getting the support of Jamaicans. But I think what we do differently from the point of view of the organization when you could say reestablished in 2017 is that because we know the reasons why the organizations failed before, we identified that that's going to be a big challenge. But we basically decided that we won't allow that to derail us or deter us. So we decided that the way forward is to build a strong committee, and that committee will pull the organization forward and continue to pull the organization forward. So even if the wider group is not really, engaging or participating, we have to move ahead as an organization. And also, I think from the point of view of the wider group, they will actually come around. And most of the time they will come around in the time of need. So in reality, when they need the diaspora, they're going to reach out to us. But obviously, we have to be there in order to help them. So we have to basically do the groundwork in actually keeping things moving forward. And for myself, I try to reach out to Jamaicans all the time. And you always come across another Jamaicans who live there, and somebody say, oh, there's a Jamaican that lives down in Galway. And I always try my best to make the contacts and just to see. And sometimes you'll be surprised, this person's living here for 15 or 20 years. Yes, and they didn't actually know that we have a diaspora here. So like what I normally do, and another issue we have with Jamaicans as well, and as Jamaicans, we all know this. And I always have to mention this one. Jamaicans always say, I don't want anything to do with Jamaicans.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
That's everywhere. And that's so rude.
Everywhere.
And one of the things that I normally do whenever I come across a Jamaican and I introduce the organization and say, this is what we are doing. And they would say to me, I don't want anything to do with Jamaicans. And I'll say to them, listen, doesn't matter what issue you have with Jamaicans, you have to remember, we all have one thing in common. We're all Jamaicans. And I always say, listen, give me the contacts, keep in touch with the organization. You can join the platform. You don't have to comment, but you are just there. So at least there might be something pop up on that platform, which is of beneficial to you someday. Or you might need some assistance. So there are Jamaicans who perhaps doesn't want to participate, but at least they have the contacts and they can actually see what's going on. And Ethelyn can expand on that a bit more because she would know the struggle in terms of getting Jamaicans involved here. That's,
Yeah.
And it's not
it's a struggle. It's a big struggle, to be honest.
Yeah.
The other day I was in a shop and I was talking. So, sometimes you go into those Asian shops and a lot of them may have lived in London. So the minute you started talking to them, like, oh, you're Jamaican. I'm gonna say, yeah, man. And like, what, man? So this guy was standing behind me in the shop. And I was like, oh, so you know what Jamaican, they say, yeah, man, been living in London a long time. That's the shopkeeper. Then the guy turned around and said, oh, yeah, Jamaican. I say, yeah. I was like, are you Jamaican? He said, yeah. And you wouldn't believe it. The guy is only 5 minutes away from me because he
Wow.
lives in Casanock. And I'm like for real? And he said, yeah, I've been living here for the past 10 years. And I didn't even know Jamaicans were around here. And I said,
Wow.
well, welcome. And then I started telling him about the diaspora. I gave him his number. I think he commented twice, but he's still on the group anyway. Do you know what I mean? But you know, just to butter what Severo said a while ago, it's one of the hardest things. And a
Yeah.
lot of us Jamaican hold on to grudges too much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of us may have known each other and then they
Yeah.
pass the words along. Come on, we're not doing it for us because we are older.
Right.
A lot
Yeah.
of us have our children here.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And now I'll be honest with you, with the Irish Jamaican diaspora, a lot of Irish people now know about us.
Right.
You understand? They are so excited about our food, our culture, everything to do with us. You know, and they're Irish Jamaican, they're Irish here that, you know, sad to say, they have children with our Jamaican men and the relationship is no more. And they reach out to us. You know, we have even, they're like, you know what, I haven't been in contact with my husband or my ex-husband for years, but I have my children here. They need to know the Jamaican culture. They need to this, they need to that. We need to go to Jamaica to contact our family. And Steph can tell you, you know, but one of the hardest things, and there's no joke about it, is to get Jamaicans involved and stay involved.
Stay involved.
And it's not just, let me tell you, it's not just in Ireland.
Oh, okay.
This is really what inspired me to start doing these Jam Talks. Because one, I kept hearing folks tell different stories. Oh, I didn't know that existed. Oh, I didn't know. Or people just not knowing the amazing things that Jamaicans are doing around the world, not just in Jamaica. Because even though you are doing work at some point that, you know, is in Jamaica, you're also doing domestic work in Ireland. So if you're a Jamaican living in Ireland, what we do also benefits you here. We're not asking you to go back to Jamaica, but right here, because we share the same heritage, we're creating a support system for you so that you can be successful, right? So these Jam Talks came out of that because so many organizations around the globe. I'm here in the US, Jamaican restaurants, a dime a dozen. Jamaican own this, Jamaican own that, a dime a dozen. Getting these folks to be engaged in work that is happening to benefit Jamaica or the local Jamaican community.
No.
Pliers to teeth.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. That's how it is. But it's pliers to teeth. But as back to Steve's point, there's two things. One, build and they will come. They may not come when you've done building, but they'll come. It may be when they're in trouble. It may be when somebody drags them. It may be an event and they just happen to come by. It may be meeting in a market, but they'll come. And two, consistency, right? That has always been something that has worked in the nonprofit sector. You know, they always talk about water through rock. The water is consistency that allows that water to eventually be able to flow through that rock, right? Consistently. We're not stopping until we get through this rock. So
there you go.
You have those two things that you've already put in place and you've set your mind that we're going to build. They'll come when they're ready, but when they're ready, we've been ready. We stay ready. We're here ready.
But you know what, Rachel, as you say that, and I was saying to Steph, one of the things that actually keep us together as well as a committee, we liaise with the UK and we've been to a couple of their meetings. So we've been about 2 of them. And, you know, having sit there and speak to the older folks, the people who have started it there, and you listen to their story, you know, they're like, look, don't give up. If it's even one of you or 2 of you, keep it going. And they'll say, look, when we started here, because, you know, the UK is massive. He said it was only here, London. It was only 3 of us. And we fight, we tear, we put together. You know what I mean? But what? You have a few people who are like, no matter what, we ain't going nowhere. And look at the UK now.
Absolutely. You know? Yes. Wow. So great accomplishments, challenges that are a challenge that's formidable, but it's definitely defeatable.
There you go.
And so as the both of you are part of leading this amazing team, what would you say is one lesson that you have learned about leadership, specifically as it pertains to leading an organization?
Well, for me, I think in terms of leadership, I think it's as a leader, you have to basically learn to take responsibility. Take responsibility, and that's so important, because in any organization, or whether it be in the nonprofit or government or private sector, there are always going to be issues. There are always going to be problems. And as a leader, you need to be able to take responsibility and admit when there are mistakes and say, okay, we didn't get this right. But, and then you identify where you go wrong, so you can learn from your mistake and you can build on that and move on. And I think when we decided to set up this organization back in 2017, I said to everyone, listen, I get along with everyone. Everybody would know me, like, get along with everyone. So I said, I'm going to personally reach out to people myself, because, I know if I reach out to people and I say, listen, this is me. I said, I'm going to be fronting this. This is what we're going to do. And, I'm sure they will get back to me in terms of building the numbers. So, and that's very important from the point of view of an organization. They need to, the wider committee need to see that there is, steady leadership there. They need to see that, you are going in the right direction. And as I mentioned before, even if they don't join now, they will eventually join later on. But because Jamaicans here, some of the Jamaicans here have issues with other Jamaicans. So me as a person who seems to get along with everyone and everyone would know me, the fact that I'm actually at the head of this, then it kind of just makes it a little bit easier, because they know that, okay, this is Steve Roy here. Everybody knows Steve Roy. Steve Roy is pushing this forward. And, it's a lot of responsibility. And for me as well, in my job as a lawyer, it's very demanding job. And I have to juggle everything and, find times for the meetings and make sure that, things is going in the right direction. So from the point of view of leadership, I think able to accept responsibility for your actions when something go wrong, and to basically able to navigate the organization in the right direction. I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned, and I learned it through leading the organization, but also in my daily life in terms of my career.
Okay.
Yeah, leadership for me, leadership is tough. So let's not dance around that. Leadership is tough. And to lead any organization, whether it be in work, outside of work, whatever it is, it's gotta be something that you really want to do. It's got to be something that you love, because you're going to be offended. People's going to offend you. You know what I mean? Everyone comes to the table with their own package, so you have to be adaptable, and trust me, the most part of it for me is offense, because people will rock your boat. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, they will. Yeah. So when they rock it, are you going to stay shaky? Are you going to give up? Are you going to quit? Or are you going to say, it's just one of them things, let's work it out? You know what I mean? But being a leader is not easy, and it comes with its ups and its downs. But what I would say to everyone who's in leadership is that, make sure it's something that you want to do and you love it, because it has its own challenges. Yeah.
Wow. So if you saw me looking down, I was taking notes on what you guys were saying about leadership, because I always like to share whenever I post highlights from these interviews. One of the things I always like to share is what the guests have said about what it is to be a leader and what that means, because for anyone who's watching it, but especially those who are coming behind us, because I mean, even though I'm the older end of the young pool, still we have younger folks who are coming behind us, who are watching what we do, and who we need to leave like words of wisdom for as to what this journey is. So I always like to take notes. So the three or four things that I heard from the both of you as it pertains to leadership is to, you have to have an ability to accept responsibility for the good and the bad, what goes right and what goes wrong. You have to be able to navigate the organization in the right direction. Build trust. You have to build trust with those around you, because even if folks who are on committees don't trust each other, if they trust you and they know that you are in it for the right reasons, and that you, as Stewart said, I get along with everyone, people know I'm going to be fair. And so because they know that I'm overseeing this, they still come and be a part of it, even though on the ground or among themselves, there may be some issues. Leadership is tough. So you've got to love it, and you have to really want to do it. You need to stay committed no matter what, because that's what leaders do. Absolutely. So that's the tips I got from you, from the two of you, which are really, really, really good tips. So how can folks support Jamaicans in Ireland diaspora? How can we support you in what you're doing?
Well, I think in terms of support for ourselves as a very young organization, I think we need the support from organizations who have been doing this for many years or many decades. And our connection with the UK is really good in terms of we been to their events, and we kind of talk to people who are in it for a while, and they kind of say, listen, it's going to be difficult, but you just you can't give up. You just need to have that strong team there to basically lead the organization in the right direction. So I think getting ideas from other organizations in terms of how to navigate things, because we're a small diaspora, and lots of other organizations have been around for a long period of time, they would know what the challenges are. They faced them before. So from the point of view of a sense of guidance, I think that would be very important for us as an organization, and to build that connection. In last year, during the virtual independence celebration, which was it was a big one, because we have a representative from, I think, 3 different parts of the States and the UK and France, Germany, and all of these other countries. I basically flagged the idea of a European diaspora. So that's something that I think for us as a young diaspora, if we can form a European diaspora, so all the diasporas within Europe, and we build that connection, and we're able to basically, even just a representative from our diaspora join into one of the events over in France or in the UK, just to see the way they do things and get ideas. That's a brilliant idea. And Europe as a continent, we can build on that. And in terms of, because I know in the United States, there are lots of different diaspora, because the United States is huge. So the idea of a European diaspora is that as European, we can basically, build a diaspora and have a common vision in terms of where we want to go to support Jamaicans in Europe, because Jamaicans in Ireland here, who are, lots of them are European citizens, they basically, as a European citizen, you can basically migrate to any other EU country to work, study, whatever you want to do. So say, for example, you have a Jamaican living in Ireland here, and they decided, you know what, I have enough of Ireland, I want to move over to France. At least they know that before they leave Ireland, they can contact us, and we can say, okay, we can put you in contact with the diaspora over in France. So when you go on the ground in France, as a Jamaican arriving in France, don't know much about France, at least there's some form of assistance, there's an organization there to help. So I think for us, that's a brilliant idea in terms of, we as a small organization to build that connection and learn. And in terms of, even from the point of view of fundraising and all of that, at the moment, we're in the process of registering for charitable status. And once we have that up and running, we'll be able to, get, charitable donations and stuff. So we can, if we can pick up ideas from other organizations, other diasporas, in terms of, how to overcome some of these hurdles, I think that would be really good for us.
Okay, all right. I think that's a wise ask. Yeah. In it's almost like Solomon, right? Was asking, what do you want? And he said wisdom.
Yes.
Right? He didn't ask for riches or whatever, because he knew that if he was wise, he would be able to all those other things he could acquire because he had wisdom. So I think, Sivor, the ask you have, I think, is a wise one, because out of what you're asking and out of this idea of having a European diaspora organization or whatever it's going to be called, which I think it's a wonderful idea, and you share those resources and ideas so that small organizations like yours don't have to struggle so long alone, that you become part of a larger unit, even though you have your own independence as an organization.
Yes.
But at least you have some support of a larger unit. I think it's an amazing idea. It's a really good one, and I'm hoping that it does come to fruition. So I think that's so you're asking for skills, talents, expertise that's out here. That there's some investment of that in what's happening in Ireland. And so that's the ask. And please, whenever you get your charitable link set up, that approval, please send it to me so I can update. Because normally I post any links, websites, and any links to donate, so folks can kind of donate to the organization. But if you have a particular project as well that's happening, you talked about laptops, you talked about sometimes there may be Jamaicans who are in financial need and you may need to support them during COVID. So if you have any special projects and are accepting any donations for that, also let me know, and I can always update this particular interview so that folks have that, so they can stay connected. Is there a Facebook page or any social media?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have a Facebook page. We also have a website.
Okay.
Yeah. So
tell me what the website is.
Pardon?
Tell us what the website is.
Oh, it's www.jamaicans.in-Ireland.com. Just 1 second. Yeah.
Okay. So easy. Exactly what the organization.
Yeah, it's the organization name.
Yeah. JamaicansInIreland.com.
Has a Facebook page.
And it has a Facebook page is the same. Well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this interview on YouTube, the information that Steve Roy just gave is going to be at the bottom of this video. If you're watching this on social media, Facebook, the information is going to be above this video. So we're going to have the website. We'll have, we'll tag the social media pages so you can support Jamaicans in Ireland diaspora. And once they have their financial contributions approval for them to collect donations, very similar to what happens here in the US, should be collecting donations unless you've gotten that approval from your state. But that's a whole nother interview. So once they've gotten that approved, then we will update this video with that link, and we will do a separate post as well, just letting everyone know that if you are interested in supporting the work that's happening in Ireland that specifically benefits Jamaicans in Ireland, but also Jamaicans at home, you can make a contribution. And lastly, as we've discussed, this is the 6th Jam Talk interview. And so as we've discussed interview after interview, it is that don't curse where you're coming from. That's one thing my mom always told me when we were growing up. Do not curse where you're coming from. That's number one. And number two is that you don't have to go. No one's asking you to go. You don't have to lift a finger to do anything. Just support. Support, put your money where your mouth is. Right? So if you're going to complain about issues, there's an organization, or there are organizations that are willing to do the work. Support with a donation. You can support with your expertise, with your skills, with your network, with your connection. There are a plethora of ways to support Jamaica without setting a foot back home. The rest of us will go, right? But the support of Jamaicans around the globe is needed. Jamaica is still home. It's where birthed you, it's where grew you, it's where you became who you were. And so it's really, really important that we remember that. So thank you all once again for joining us for another episode of Jam Talk. Steve Roy, I know we lost Ethlyn. The good thing is at the end, I know we lost Ethlyn. So Steve Roy, thank you, and Ethlyn so much for sharing with us about Ireland and the work that's happening there for Jamaicans who live in Ireland. I'll be visiting Ireland next year, so I look forward to seeing you and Ethlyn when I come to visit and see the work that you are doing there. For everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in. Have an amazing week, and I will see you next week for another episode of Jam Talk. Until then,
thanks very much. Thank you for having us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No problem. Bye-bye.